morning, everybody. I am on my phone today because the audio quality on my Surface is not that great, so we're switching and seeing how it goes. Bear with me. Your first reading assignment is due tonight, but before we even got into that, I did want to kind of pause and have a conversation with everybody about mental health during this time, because I think that's a really important conversation that we need to make sure that we're having with each other. First of all, we are transitioning to a time when we are going to be home more often than we're used to. And for a lot of people, that's going to be really difficult for a lot of different reasons. So first of all, you have people who are not used to the idea of homeschooling or virtual school, which is essentially what we're transitioning to. And that can be a really hard platform to transition to when you're not used to it. So when we are transitioning to these virtual classrooms and kind of meshing the two with like these audio and video conferences and being at home, first of all, I think we need to have a little bit of flexibility. There is a lot of unknowability right now that's going on, and flexibility with each other and with your teachers is going to be really important during this time. But also, it's important to realize that when we're not in school being hounded by our teachers, it's really easy to get lost in the material and in the classwork. And sometimes we just forget to do things, and sometimes it's going to be really difficult to keep track of everything that we need to get done. I know personally I have taken several online classes, and sometimes it just seems almost impossible for me to keep track of everything that I'm supposed to be doing all the time, and I just feel completely lost about it. If you are one of those people who feel like you are just going to get completely lost in this virtual online schooling, I have a couple tips and tricks. If you want to use them, you may borrow them or steal them or whatever you want to do. The first is really simple. Just get a planner. If you don't have a planner, a whiteboard or just like some notebook paper will work. And essentially what you can do is just kind of divide the paper into days of the week if you don't have a planner, and just add each subject down the line and then just write everything that you need to do, and I will show you a sample. Okay, so this is my example, and at the top you can see that there are all the days of the week at the top, and then going down the side are each of my subjects, including electives. And I have all of this space in here to write down each thing that I need to do for the day. I don't know how some of your teachers are assigning homework, but I do know for me, I'm assigning it kind of week by week. So you already have all of your assignments for this week posted on the Google Classroom. So if it's easier, just every Monday morning or whenever you get up, you can go in and just write down each of those things in the Google Classroom that I've already posted, and that way you can keep track of at least my assignments. For your classes that do not post everything week by week and kind of post it during class period, because I know some people are doing that conference call on like the time frame that their class would normally be, just have this piece of paper out with you and be writing down what you're supposed to be doing. That's going to really help you to keep track of it. If you don't like any of those ideas, you can also just kind of keep a notebook paper, but that can get a little bit confusing. Or post-it notes also work that are like color coordinated. So you could do math as blue and language arts as red or whatever. However you want to do it, however you want to keep organized. Okay, so what else can you do? Well, a lot of people might find it beneficial to do the classwork that is due for that subject during the time frame of the day that you would normally be in that class. That kind of just helps to keep this kind of normalcy when everything around us is really not normal. So if you feel like you might just get lost in all this homework and all this work that you're supposed to be doing, just say, okay, well, where am I at 8:30 in the morning? Oh, at 8:30 I am in math. So I'm gonna do my math homework at 8:30. If I get done with it before the class period is over, you can just relax. If you're in a conference at that time, then you're just in your conference. And then you just kind of move on to the next one and kind of go through your school day just like that, and just kind of going through those motions every day just to keep track of all the work that you're supposed to be doing. Also, you can reach out to your teachers. Maybe they can set up reminders. If you think a reminder for this class would be helpful, you can let me know. I can potentially set up some sort of instant message system. I know that other schools do that, where I just kind of remind you what to do every day. If you think that would be helpful, let me know about that. But that's something that you can consider. So talk to your teachers, talk to your guardians, and see what's going to work for you guys. So the next topic that we need to talk about is a little bit more serious, but I think it's also just a lot more important than the schoolwork, and that is your health and well-being while you're at home and not at school. We are entering into this kind of weird time where a lot of people are used to going to school, and potentially that's the only time that they get out during the day, which is really beneficial for like our social lives and for keeping up with everybody. But now we're not going to be seeing everybody as much. So how can we deal with that and kind of those emotions and our mental health during this time frame? I think the most important thing that you can do first is set up a routine and follow it every day. So if you would go to bed at 10 o'clock at night during the school week, continue to do that. Continue to wake up at your normal time and just go through those motions, like I said before, about your school day. That can help to maintain a schedule for you. Your sleep is really going to be important during this time. Do not underestimate your sleep. So make sure you're maintaining a consistent sleep schedule and getting the actual sleep that you need. It might also be really difficult for us to not see our friends as much, and I really understand that. But we have FaceTime, we have Google Hangout, we have all of these options. Please reach out to your friends and ask them to hang out and talk to them if they need it, because this is going to be a really, really hard time for a lot of people to be alone. Also, I think it's important to note that during this time, there's a lot of uncertainty about where we're going with the schools, where we're going with just our normal everyday lives and what's going to happen. And that can be really scary to deal with, all of these things that we cannot answer and don't have any idea what's going to happen. So I think it's really important that we also kind of talk about what to do when those emotions and those thoughts arise. So the first thing I want you to know, and this is very important to me, that if you're having these thoughts and feelings, they are valid, they are important. If you feel scared, if you feel anxious, if you feel sad, those are all very valid emotions and they are important to recognize. Don't let people tell you that you're not allowed to have these emotions or that you're overreacting or whatever, okay? You're allowed to have these emotions. You're a human. You're experiencing something that has never happened before. Whatever you're feeling is valid, but we need to make sure that we're dealing with them in a really safe and productive way. So if you haven't heard of it, there is a technique called mindfulness, and it can actually help when things get really overwhelming and we don't know how to deal with them, when our brain just kind of like thinks everything is going crazy. In class, we talked about grounding, but mindfulness is also another technique. And it's essentially just keeping yourself focused in the moment. And you would just you can meditate during this or just kind of sit quietly, or you can just go and do, your daily life or whatever you're going to do. But when you're doing these actions or when you're just sitting or when you're just in thought, you just kind of allow thoughts to enter and then you just kind of let them go. So don't hang on to anything. If you feel like your brain is kind of spiraling out of control and you're going down all these really dark avenues, just allow your brain to just kind of let that thought go and kind of let them wash in and wash out, just kind of going with the flow. Our brain is going to get us trapped up into some really scary places because we don't know a lot of the answers, and that's just kind of our nature, is to want to know the answers to things. So just being able to recognize that you're having these thoughts and feelings, acknowledging them, and then allowing them to just kind of, but that's easier said than done, right? A lot of us can't just let the emotions go. I know I have a really hard time with this. So I try to work through my emotions in different ways. I like to listen to music when I am feeling very sad. I like to color, I crochet, do all these different activities. And that kind of lets my mind process the emotions that I'm feeling in a safe way. Like if I'm getting really frustrated when I'm coloring, I can just break like the crayon or whatever, and that's not going to do anything, but it also just kind of allows me to release that in a really safe way. What I'm not saying is you should go around breaking crayons, but what I am saying is that there's a lot of different ways that we can cope with these feelings and emotions in a safe way that's going to be productive and allow us to recognize the emotions as valid, but also working through them. Now, I am not a mental health professional by any means, but I do know from experience that a lot of these techniques can be helpful for people who have no idea where to start. So if any of these are helpful for you, awesome. And if you have any more ideas, please share with everybody, because a lot of us may have not had to deal with these emotions at any time previous to this. So this is all new terrain for a lot of us, and it's really important to just kind of figure out what works best for us. Now, if you do have a mental illness, this can be also a really challenging time for you depending on what it is. These are all really new things that we're dealing with. So make sure that you are keeping up with your mental health professional, and if you are on medication, that you have that medication and that you are taking it regularly. Don't stop taking your medication. Take your medication if you need to, okay? And do the things that you need to do. If you need to call your doctor and have that moment with them and kind of figure things out, please do that. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. This is a really difficult time, so make sure that you're taking care of yourself. That's all I have for you for this video, but I saw that some people watched my video from yesterday. So that makes me happy that people are actually watching them. I did change the comments. I realized for some reason the comments were restricted. They're not restricted anymore, but I will be monitoring them, so don't do anything stupid. Not that I think you guys would do something stupid, but you know. And also, if a guardian needs to come and contact me, please give them my email so that they can contact me if they have any questions or concerns about anything that's going on. I am more than willing to answer anything and talk to them as needed. So do your homework, read, and I will post that video. I already did it because I'm an overachiever. I already did the video, and it will be posted tomorrow in parts because it's long. So you don't have to sit there and for 50 minutes and listen to me read the whole thing. It's like 10-minute segments.